Welcome to the Canadian Culture Wars Report. My name is Shannon Beauchamp. Today, I'm going to share with you the top 10 systemic lies that Canadian institution and media pushes on us. And before I do that, and the reason this was inspired was, and I'm kicking this around in my head for a little while, back in early January, an ex-user who goes by that name, Coffee for Canada 2, posted, fun fact, the top Canadian accounts on X known to promote the most misinformation and conspiracy theories are all conservative far right. 10 of 10. Here we go. I'm going to quickly run down them. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party. Viva Fry, you got his big surge in followers and recognition during the trucker convoy in 2022. Online, Lauren Chen, a right-wing influencer accused of collaborating with Russian propaganda schemes. Lauren Southern, Canadian gal from Langley, BC. She's been around for, a decade now. Shot to fame when she was in college and confronting gender ideology way back then. Ezra Levant, founder of Rebel News. A.B. Daniel Smith, Premier Smith in Alberta. Theo Fleury, former NHL hockey player. Leslie Lewis. And my friend Randy Hillier, local to the Ottawa region here. I've had a chance to chat with a few times. You know, cantankerous and old salty dog and says what's on his mind, and you got to love him for that. So, I want to tie this in. So this got me thinking, okay, where does this kind of polling information come from? Polls are constructed. We tend to think, and sometimes we outsource our brain when we hear polling results, or in this case, the AI isolated the so-called the top 10 according to Grok, and claim that it's all conservatives, and therefore, and there's a bunch of studies related to this in America and in Canada that suggests that the right wing, at least they're published this way, that people on the right are more prone to misinformation and disinformation than the left wing. Of course, the left wing is the most educated and the smartest and the most discerning and, the right side of history and blessed by God and Jesus and all that, except they're not, because they're left wing and they don't believe in God. So it got me querying a little bit. So I asked Grok, does this include stuff about mass graves in Canada? Does it include the tropes that have been given through institutions for decades about the oppression of women and feminism and the lies of gender pay gaps and things like that, and oppression by the patriarchy, and none of that fits. The supposed genocide in Gaza that the media has been promoting and biased towards. A big CBC thing came out. So what I'm saying is statistics and polling is easily manipulated, and it requires some engagement of our brains when we start to see results like this. Otherwise, the part of our brain that kind of takes over is the root of our brain. I've talked about this a lot last fall, and the reticular activating system. That's where our unconscious biases, dirty words, unconscious biases reside. And what I mean by that is confirmation bias. There are a host of well-known biases that have nothing to do with race and racial impressions and stereotypes and things like that, but that affect the way we assemble a model of the world. They're a set of heuristics or algorithms or axioms, as a friend of mine says. Will Barkley, who I met not long ago, talks about how we're kind of our perceptions are founded on axiomatic sort of rules. And so if we don't, take a moment and ask ourselves a question, is this true? And who is saying it and why are they saying it? Then we run the risk of just like gobbling up garbage and assembling a false map of the world. Now, one of my favorite writers about language and how we get manipulated is a guy named S.I. Hayakawa, and he was a Canadian journalist. I've talked about him before. A Japanese-Canadian journalist in the Second World War era who was a professor of journalism, and he wrote a book called Language in Thought and in Action. And he called some of those words and the way we get manipulated, what stands out in my mind anyway, the media uses words that he called snarl words. They're deliberately inflammatory, and purr words that kind of, fluffy over the not so nice things in a way that persuades people, even though, we might be talking about a report, which is A, B, C, D happened. Those snarl words and purr words get overlaid onto stories in order to influence our emotions and shape the way that we think. So going now to my friend Terry Neuman. Terry Neuman is a senior editor and columnist at the National Post. Terry and I met back in 2022. She was writing Substack about how I was getting manipulated, or my public persona was being manipulated by CBC and CTV. And she wrote a piece about that. And she was kind of doing freelance for the National Post, and now senior editor and columnist. I had drinks with her last. She was in town before Christmas, I think, or maybe just in the new year. Anyhow, Terry put up a piece, and I'm going to share a short video with you. Hopefully that I'm going to be allowed to share this because it's YouTube, and it's probably going to hit some copyright thing that I might get blasted for. Terry says, and she was an instructor at McGill in the sociology department. She's a sociologist by education, and she taught statistics and research method, which is like a dying art in the humanities. Everyone's like, ooh, math is racist. So Terry teaches stats and research methods. And she says, if you've been trained in stats and research methods, and this clip wasn't played for you, as you've been studying them, you're likely to have an idealistic view of polling. Polling leads, persuades, and sways. It rarely neutrally captures things, and pollsters wield a lot of power, some of them irresponsibly. So here I'm going to go share screen.
So he's going to say something new and radical in the broadcast.
What, that silly grand design? Bernard, that was precisely what you had to avoid. How did this come about? I shall need a very good explanation.
Well, he's very keen on it.
What's that got to do with it? Things don't happen just because prime ministers are very keen on them. Neville Chamberlain was very keen on peace.
Yes, he thinks it's a vote winner.
Ah, that's more serious, Don. What makes him think that?
Well, the party have had an opinion poll done. It seems all the voters are in favour of bringing back national service.
We'll have another opinion poll done showing the voters are against bringing back national service.
Well, we can't be for it and against.
Of course they can, Bernard. Have you ever been surveyed?
Yes, well, not me, actually, my house. Oh, I see what you mean.
Well, Bernard, you know what happens. A nice young lady comes up to you. Obviously, you want to create a good impression. You don't want to look a fool, do you? No, so she starts asking you some questions. Mr. Woolley, are you worried about the number of young people without jobs?
Yes.
Are you worried about the rise in crime among teenagers?
Yes.
Do you think there's a lack of discipline in our comprehensive schools?
Yes.
Do you think young people welcome some authority and leadership in their lives?
Yes.
Do you think they respond to a challenge?
Yes.
Would you be in favour of reintroducing national service?
Yes. Oh, well, I suppose I might.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Of course you would, Bernard. After all you've told you can't say no to that. So, they don't mention the first 5 questions and they publish the last one.
Is that really what they do?
Well, not the reputable ones, no, but there aren't many of those. So, alternatively, the young lady can get the opposite result.
How?
Mr. Woolley, are you worried about the danger of war?
Yes.
Are you worried about the growth of armaments?
Yes.
Do you think there's a danger in giving young people guns and teaching them how to kill?
Yes.
Do you think it's wrong to force people to take up arms against their will?
Yes.
Would you oppose the reintroduction of national service?
Yes.
There you are, you see, Bernard. The perfect balanced sample. So, we just commissioned our own survey for the Ministry of Defence. See to it, Bernard.
Boys and girls, this is how polls can be used to manipulate outcomes when the questions are structured in such a way as to guide people along a thought process. And if you ever answer a phone call or do an online survey, let's even park the online surveys to the side. If you answer a phone call and you go through a set of questionnaires, you can often tell what they're asking about and what they're trying to get at. And those types of questions that we saw in the video that are being asked are called leading or priming questions. And they shift people's emotional states in their brains towards a conclusion that the pollster might want to see come out. Now, I'm not saying at all that all pollsters are like this, and there are different methodologies that are used in gathering public opinions. But as we move into what we're now seeming to realize will be an election in the spring, unless we see more floor crossers, we need to be wary of these polls. We saw that in the United States with polling around Donald Trump, specifically back in 2016 when everyone thought Hillary was going to win because all the polls said the public opinion said this and blah, blah, blah. But just the publication of public opinion polls that suggest that, Hillary's going to win by a 93% chance actually biases the public towards behavior, whether they're going to vote or not. They're going to throw up their hands and go, oh, yeah, I'm not going to bother voting for Donald Trump because obviously Hillary's going to win. So that brings me to my list, okay? Top 10 leftist lies and systemic lies, that's institutional lies that we have in Canadian society. No particular order, really. And, if you want to take issue with some of these, I'll address them if you demand it of me. But I encourage you to let your fingers do the walking and Google or pull up some of these things so that you can disengage that emotional part of your brain that takes over your frontal cortex and perpetuates biases that we have and preconceived notions. And dig for yourself. I challenge you to contest me on some of these things. Number one, trucker convoy was a group of white supremacist Nazis who gathered in Ottawa to overthrow the government in 2022. Number two, mRNA COVID vaccines are safe and effective, and they stop transmission of COVID. At number three, 215 bodies are buried in a septic field in what is now an orchard in Kamloops, BC, next to a residential school. Tied to that is Canada as a genocidal nation that stole all the land from Indigenous people. Number four, children need experimental sex change drugs and surgeries because if we don't trans them, they're going to self-delete. And number five, Pierre Poilievre is a mini-Trump bringing American-style politics to Canada. Hillary Clinton's coming up to speak at the Liberal Convention in a couple of weeks. And speaking of U.S.-style politics, and how well is that going to go in a negotiation between the Liberals and Trump? He loves Hillary. Okay. Number seven, let's do number six first. Six before seven. Number six is women are historically oppressed by patriarchy and all of the attendant lies of feminism that are tied to that. Trump said at number seven about neo-Nazis that there are very fine people in both sides in the event in Charleston, South Carolina, back in, maybe that was 2017. Watch the full video. Don Lemon, who was recently arrested for storming a church with a camera, claiming he's a journalist, said that Trump refused to disavow, but if he had just played the next 15 or 20 seconds of the clip, that's exactly what Trump did. I didn't know this. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Trump derangement syndrome. Sorry, was that a Nazi salute? Was that a Nazi salute, people? Trump said about neo-Nazis, they're very fine people on both sides. That's a Canadian trope that gets passed around to evoke fear of the American leader. And number eight, ISIS disappearing Americans and murdering them in the street. At number nine, Carney has the best elbows to negotiate a trade deal with Trump. And number 10, finally, Trump. Nope, stuck on Trump. Number 10 is Alberta is going to get a pipeline under the Liberal federal government. My name is Shannon Boucher, Canadian Culture Wars Report. Tune in again soon.